Mary Shelley is kind of a freak. Okay, that may be a bit mean, but there are several moments in her life that are extremely questionable, that range from sexual to gruesome. And all of these bizarre behaviors can be seen in every aspect of her entire life. But first, let's back up a bit. Who is Mary Shelley? Mary Shelley, born Mary W. Goodwin, is one of the most interesting women to have ever lived, mainly due to her contributions to literature, that being her magnum opus, Frankenstein, or the first Prometheus. And she definitely deserves all the praise she receives. Frankenstein is one of the most groundbreaking works of literature. Not only that, it single-handedly jump-started the entire science fiction genre. But when you ask someone who she is, that's basically where the conversation ends. Which is such a shame because she's accomplished so much more in her life. Not only is she a writer, she's also an accomplished essayist and poet. Her life was filled with so many interesting anecdotes, it could be a novel even of itself. She was always at the center or part of an event that would make anyone think she was bizarre. To better explain this point, moving forward, I'll be dividing her life into two equal parts, that being her professional and personal life. To clarify, all info I get on Mary Shelley will come from Penguin Classics' imprint of Frankenstein, which doubles as the novel and a bibliography going through her life. Let's begin with her personal life. Mary's personal life was plagued with tragedy at a very young age. She lost her mother, Mary Wollstonecraft, 10 days after she was born, which left her father, William Goodwin, to raise her by himself. Well, he did eventually remarry his neighbor, Mary Jane Claremont, and it's pretty clear that her and Mary Shelley did not get along at all. This is obviously very sad. However, it's in the next section of her personal life that all of the freaky events start to occur, a section I like to call Love and a Surprising Amount of Death. Here's the thing, a man named Percy Shelley would come to the Godwin house to discuss personal matters with William. However, while he was there, he met Mary, and both eventually fell in love with each other. William eventually understood what was happening once he realized Percy came to his house almost every other day, and right there and there, banned him from seeing his daughter ever again. Now from here it's pretty unclear what would happen, but we do know that William would try to take his own life, and it's supposedly because he was so in love with Mary, he couldn't take it anymore. Remember, this man is married. After his attempt, Mary and Percy would elope together, maybe because she was so moved by his love for him, I guess. They both moved to Italy and never looked back, leaving behind Mary's father and Percy's wife. She would eventually take her own life, probably because her husband left her for a teenager. Oh, did I forget to mention, at this point Percy is several years older than Mary is. There was one other strange anecdote I debated putting in this video, mainly because it's still unclear if it's real or not. I couldn't find any actual historical evidence for this event, only some tweet. However, if it is real, it is shocking. Supposedly, Mary brought Percy to her mother's grave, and there Mary popped her cherry. This is obviously an extremely bizarre thing to do, and I'm still very unclear on which mother it was, whether it be her stepmother or her biological one. If it was her stepmother, it could have been a final piece of revenge. However, I highly doubt it, since I don't believe her stepmother was dead at this point. So it was most definitely her birth mother, which is just, I'm not even sure why either of them would even think of doing that, but I digress. Now we can move on to the second part of this video, which is her professional life. When I say professional life, I do mean her writing career, and to be fair, this section is filled with anecdotes that are simply interesting and not bizarre. For instance, she wrote Frankenstein in under a year, when one of her friends dared her to write a horror story. Furthermore, the concept of the novel came to her during a nightmare. However, there are moments in her career that are just downright bizarre. For instance, as I said earlier, she wrote several other books. For example, she wrote Matilda, a incestuous story where a father falls in love with his daughter. Moreover, she also wrote The Last Man, the story of a pandemic that ravages society in the 21st century, which isn't topical at all. In all seriousness, as much as I do think some of her moments are a bit questionable, it is pretty clear that Mary Shelley is one of the most fascinating women to have ever lived. She has an undeniably all-encompassing impact on literature. For that reason, I highly recommend you check out one of her many bibliographies and her works. But that's all I have for you right now. Thank you so much for watching. And if you're looking for more book content, you could go check out my previous video where I review 6 books I've never actually read. Have a nice day, stay safe, and goodbye for now.